All right. So we've been in the console this whole time, and right now we're going to move everything that we've done into a developer environment. So this is an integrated developer environment called VS Code. I'll put a link in the description of the video. Um, if it's not there, write a comment, tell me to put it in there. But I'll write basically I'll just link to where you can download this. It's free. You can use it, and all I've done at this point really is open up a folder. Um, I actually have created a repository on GitHub because I want to share this whole folder with anybody that may be interested in taking this course. But we will dive into that piece a little later. Right now, all I'm going to do is I'm inside. I have basically opened up a new folder. I have a folder on my hard drive. I've created a new folder called JavaScript to do app course. And inside of that, and all I'm going to do here is create a new folder, and I'm going to type in week one. Um, And then inside of that folder, I'm going to do a new folder, and it's going to be called day 7. All right. So inside of that folder, I'm going to start a new file, and it's going to be index.html. Okay. And then inside of that, I'm going to do a new file, and it's going to be called index.js. So right now I've got an HTML file and I've got a JavaScript file. These two are going to go hand in hand for the purposes of this course. An HTML file, it stands for Hypertext Markup Language. That's HTML. That's not that important, but just know that when you visit a web page, it used to be that you were most likely visiting an HTML file, and um, it was a text file that had been marked up in a particular way so that the browser could read it and know what was a paragraph, what was a heading, what was bold, what was you know, italicized, and all of that good stuff. Now, these days, there might be other ways when you visit a website. It might be PHP, something like that, but from my understanding of that, is actually, using a different language to create HTML. So you're probably looking at HTML in some way, but there might be something working behind the scenes to serve you that file. But I'm not going to dive too much into that. Just know this file is going to contain the static elements of the page, and then we're going to use JavaScript to add things to the page. When you're working in an HTML file, there is something called the DOM. We don't need to know too much about it right now, but it's basically how the page is organized, and we can use JavaScript to add elements to the DOM and all that good stuff. But right now, we don't care too much about that. All we're trying to do is um, create a space where we can just save our work. Because before, when we were in the console, as soon as we pressed close tab, all of our work was gone. But now we're inside of a file that we can save, and then we can just load that file inside of the browser whenever we want to test it out. And then we can add more to the file. And so that's why we're just taking this really one step at a time. So when you're inside of this file, you're going to type in something like HTML. It might not, let's see. Yeah, so we're going to do open bracket and then HTML, and let's see. That's all that we really need right now. And then in here, we're going to write script and then source. So this is going to load in a bit of JavaScript here, and the source is the destination of the file. And we're just going to write in index.js. That's that blank file that we had. And we're going to close this. and it's automatically going to put this other tag. These things here are called tags, and it's going to close that tag. I believe this is all that we need inside of this file. And then we're going to go into, look, you know what? I was in the wrong file. So we're going to go in here and we're going to paste this in. We're going to save that. And here we remove this. So in the JavaScript file, we are going to start with just a very simple console.log. And we're going to say hello world, as is customary in development or programming or coding, however you want to describe it. So we're going to save that. Now, inside of your VS Code, there are things called extensions. And so you can get an extension called Live Server, which will allow you to launch a development local server with live reload feature for static and dynamic pages. And what we can do with that is we can, it'll put this little icon down here at the bottom, and we can hit go live, and it will start up a web server, okay, at this port, okay, and it's running a server at port 5500. All right, and so let me see if I bring something down here. Okay, it's going to load it up. So it's opened up a file in my browser, and sorry for that flashbang there, but I'm going to do Control-Shift-I, and that's going to bring up my console, okay? And here we see hello world. So now we're working inside of this. We've got our JavaScript file attached to the HTML, and the JavaScript that we wrote is running inside of the browser. That's really all we need at this point. So we're going to come back over here and we can comment that out. Now there's a shortcut. You can hold Control and hit that backslash, and that will just automatically comment that out. We'll comment that out. And what we want to do now is we're going to be organizing our code. So we are going to organize it into 3 different sections. We're going to have our data section. We're going to have our functions section. And we are going to have our app section, right? Just a basic way to organize our data. Here, we're going to declare our variable. This is going to be to-dos. That's going to start out as an empty array. That's our data right now. So for our functions, we're going to have add to-dos or add to-do. Whoops. We need to first say function, and we're going to say add to-do, and then we are going to just do that for now. We are going to have a function, and it's going to be remove to-do. That's all we need at this point. We're going to have a function, and it's going to be show to do. Okay, and we said, what else did we do? We add, remove, show, I guess, and that was pretty much it. And then inside of our app, we had a while loop. Okay. In our data, we're going to say let running equal true. All right. And we're going to say while running, then we're going to do this action. We said we're going to do prompt. We want to store the information, let user input equal prompt. Now, for you, this part of just trying to recall the information is very important. So I would recommend that you, if you think you can or whatever, just pause the video here and then just try to write this entire to-do app, the simple to-do app that we learned from the last 6 videos. Just try to rewrite it all yourself. It doesn't matter if you can or can't. If it doesn't work, that's completely fine. The point is, it's very, very, very important. I can't stress that enough, that you just actually try to recall it from your brain. Because when you were watching me before, you weren't actually learning anything. And I know that because I've watched thousands of hours of videos over the past 30 years. And to be honest, I don't remember any of it. It's only the stuff that I do it myself and I have to recall it that even has a chance to be stored into my brain. So I really cannot stress this enough. Just pause the video and just fail at this a few times or succeed and then move on. But you need to test yourself right here. So we're going to say prompt, and we said that inside of this prompt, we're going to say to do app, and we're going to say please select so type add, remove, or show, or quit. Okay. And then we're going to say if user input equals, I already talked about evaluating. We need to evaluate this expression. And so expression is this, is it equal to each other? So if something is, if we say this variable is equal to this, then we say that's an expression. Or we say if this is greater than or equal to this, then that's an expression. And when we put it into the parentheses, we're evaluating the expression. We're using the computer to tell us if that's true or false, or if it's not a number, and there's some other cases, I think, but ultimately it's going to evaluate to true or false. So here we want to say if user input triple equals add. Okay. And then we want to do this. I'm going to say else if user input equals remove, then we're going to do something else. And for now, all we're going to do is console.log add to do. Okay. Here, we're just going to copy this in, and it's going to say remove to do. Okay. And later, we're just going to call these functions, but for now, we're just going to do that as a placeholder. Else if user input equals show. And we're going to console show to do's. Right? And then else if user input equals quit, then we're going to say running equals false. And down here we'll say console log, we can say program terminated, because that sounds cool. Program terminated. All right. Now, and we'll have finally an else, that if it's not one of those things, then we want to say something humorous like no comprende or something like that. no comprende. Please try again. All right. And now we have some stuff here. Let's save it. Okay. Now we've got our live server. Okay. Let's try something here like refreshing. It's given us a prompt. Let's type in add. It says add to do. We type in remove. It says remove to do. We type in show. Show to do. Quit. Quite. And it says no comprende. And then we say I made a mistake. Quit. And it says program terminated. Perfect. So things are going well. And now instead of this stuff, we're going to comment that stuff out. We don't need that anymore. We're not going to do that. We're going to add a to-do. So in here, we need to we need to ask them what to-do they want to add. So let new to-do equal prompt. What do you need to do? And then we want to do add to do and pass it new to do. All right, brilliant. Perfect. And then down here, we want to say remove to do. We need to know what is the to do index. And we need to say that is, we need to get that from the user. And we need to say which to do you want to delete. All right. Put a question mark in there. And then we're going to actually subtract 1 from this because we know that we're using the zero-based numbering, and the index is going to be 1 less than what they think it's going to be. If it's to do number 1, then that's going to be stored in our array in the 0th index. So now we get the index, and what we want to do is use our splice. But that is going to be inside of remove to do. And we need to pass it the to do index. Okay. And that's good. So now if we want to show to-dos, simply we just have to do show to-do. This should be show to-dos because it's a list of things. So let's make it show to-dos. And that's all. It doesn't need to take anything right now. And so now we're calling our functions. So if we really wanted to test this, let's remove this stuff and we'll move the add to do testing part. We'll strip it out of here and we will add it into our functions up here. All right. So typically we want to indent this stuff. I think that's nice to look at. I'm just using tab for that. So this all looks good. We can just clean this up a little bit. Okay. All right. And then so we're going to save this. Now we're going to refresh. And we're going to say add. And we should say, what do we need to do? What do we need to do? We need to brush our teeth and go to bed. It's getting late. Brush our teeth. Brush teeth. And then it says add to do. That's great. We want to remove. It says which to do we want to delete? We want to delete number 1. And then we want to show. It says show to dos, and we want to quit. Program terminated. So off to a great start. If you ran into any challenges or anything like that, take whatever error message that you get, and then put it into Google, put it into ChatGPT, put it into something, and find and see if you can have it tell you, what potentially is going on. And that's going to be the best way for you to try to troubleshoot some of those individual errors. You need to get in the habit of getting the information yourself and knowing that you have a resource available to you. And you don't need necessarily someone like me to tell you what it is. Um, but it does help, obviously when you're first getting started, to have someone kind of push you along a little bit. And that's what I hope this can do. And also give you the confidence and the courage to get out there and try this stuff because you can do it and you are capable of it. So now we want to come back in here and we want to finish up some of these functions. So add to do, we can comment that out. And what do we want the add to do to do? If we remember, we've got an array. Okay, we've got to do's, and we need to send. So got to do's right now. I'm just going to put a semicolon there. In JavaScript, you need to put a semicolon there at the end of every line where you have a statement here. All right. You don't need them at the end of these loops or at the end of your functions, but you need them when you have a declarative statement, like when you're running something here. So now in this add to do, we are passing new to do. So here we want to have the new to do. Okay. Now this doesn't have to be the same as this. We're sending this variable here, but all it needs to know is that it's receiving a variable here. So the first variable that gets sent here is going to be the first variable or parameter that gets received here. So to kind of show you this, we're just going to use to do here, and it's not going to be a new to do. It's just going to be to do. And so we're going to say to do's dot push to do. All right. And that's going to add the so it's going to add the to do to the end of the array. Okay. So now with remove to do, we're going to use our splice method. So we're going to say to do's dot splice. And if you remember, we need to say what the index is. So we need to pass it the index. So what is the index and then how many? And for this, we're always going to be removing just one element. Now it will return an array. So let's do this. And we'll say, just tell us what that array is. And we're going to store this. But actually, we're just going to return the function. We're going to return whatever comes out of this. Okay, and then that way, this function down here is going to evaluate. It's going to be replaced. When this runs, it's going to be replaced with the value that we pass back here. So we're going to return what gets passed back. So now this remove to do lets console log whatever happens inside of here. And we'll say the following to do has been removed. Okay, and then we're going to remove to do. Right? That's going to evaluate and it's going to leave the to do here, and then it's going to console log it. So it's kind of like, those Russian dolls that where you open one up and there's one inside. It's kind of like that, this is a variable, that's like one Russian doll, and then this is a function, and it's got to then be evaluated, and then this is a bigger doll on the outside, right? So we'll see more and more of that as we go forward. But now we're going to do that. And then show to-dos, I think this is the one that might be the most challenging for us to remember. There's a lot going on in this one. Show to-dos, the big thing here is going to be, there was a for loop, and we had an index in the for loop, and we said let I equal 0. And then we said we wanted to do it while I was less than to-dos dot length. Then we wanted to do whatever is inside of this loop, and at the end of running the loop, we want to increment the index. And then so what we wanted to do here is console.log and then we had a string literal here, and it was the I plus 1 and then we had the to-dos at that index. All right, and we're just going to console log those out. And that was it. And so now we've got this while running. We say no comprende, and we say program terminated at the end. Did we pass anything to show to-dos? No. Did we pass something to this to-do index? Yes. Now we're going to save, and we're going to see, does this work? We're going to refresh. It asks us, do we want to add something, remove something, show or quit? When we say add, what do we need to do? We need to, we said brush our teeth, brush teeth, and then now we want to show. It says brush teeth. What else do we need to do before we go to bed? We want to add something. We want to drink some water. But that means we probably should, I guess I like to drink the water before I brush my teeth. So that's an idea for another application. How can we extend this? We could try to make it so we say, like, we want to add it to the beginning, add it to the end, add it to the middle. How could we accomplish that if we wanted to? That's something that we should be thinking about when we're trying to improve this and use some of the tools that we learned. How could we solve that with what we know? So that will be the challenge for you to do when you are studying what we learned and when you're applying what we've learned. Remember, for every video that you watch, try to do 3 or 4 times that much in just playing with it. Play with it. You say add, we're going to say drink water. All right. Now we're going to show, and we're going to say, okay, we want to remove something now. And which to do we want to delete? Let's delete brush teeth. And it tells us the following to do has been removed, brush teeth, so that's working. And now we show when we say drink water. So now we can add, and we can say brush teeth. And now we're in the right order, and we can say drink water, brush teeth. And then 3, we want to add, and we want to say practice JavaScript. All right. And then we want to add, and we want to say go to bed. All right. So that's it. Let's quit. Make sure that that's working. We've terminated our program. And so now this is the end of week 1. You've made a simple program. We've also saved this simple program into a file so that we don't have to rewrite this code every time. But now we're going to try to take this and we're going to say, well, I don't want to use the console anymore. I want to start using the web page. I want to start seeing some of this stuff inside of the web page, inside of the HTML, inside of the DOM, like we talked about today. So we'll see you there. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.